It's good to be back with you at the Ford dealership again today. You guys as advisors deal with customers every single day. It's what you're all about. Did you ever have an occasion, Bob, where you got in a car, maybe you were moving it, or you just turned it on to check the odometer reading, air conditioner was on, and you just got hit in the face with just the foulest smell? Dirty sweat socks, something like that. That odor that you get associated with build up in an AC system. Now, when you replace the first thing you typically would do is replace the cabin air filter and sell them a cabin air filter. But in reality, it doesn't get to what the core of the issue is, and that is buildup and junk in the evaporator core. So before I go any further into what the issue is, I want to set something up here. I want to set up an evaporator core. And I'm going to use, just for purposes of painting a picture, transmission fluid is red. So I want to use transmission fluid to set this up. This would represent, the jar is my heater core. This would, or not heater core, it's my evaporator core. This would represent the nicotine oils that build up in there, the junk that builds up, the fuzzy stuff that grows inside the evaporator core. And this is BG Frigi Clean. Now again, I'm going to back up to the problem here more in just a minute, but I want to get this set up, and I'm just going to simply foam up my evaporator core. So I get it all foamed up here, full of foam. This is what your technicians would be doing in the blower box. Now you can see the automatic transmission fluid even better, the red against that white. But again, this would represent that junk that builds up in the evaporator core. Now that I've kind of got the solution set up there, we'll let that foam down. In real world, the way this works is they foam up the blower box, and then as that foam dissipates into a liquid, it comes out the condensation tube and out on the shop floor. In fact, for that reason, sometimes it's good to put a pie pan under that to show the customer what came out of their evaporator core, which is really an eye-opener. Let's see if we can back up a half step with the PowerPoint and more better look at the problem. So the issue on the table is the AC is not cold enough, which that's definitely a customer satisfaction issue. I've put on here two reasons. There's probably more than this, but for purposes of discussion, there's primarily two reasons. Number one, it's not cold enough because of improper or inadequate lubricant. And today, you know, with the different refrigerants that we have out there, some older, some newer, and some on the horizon, it might have the wrong lubricant in it, which is problematic in and of itself. But if it's the wrong lubricant or not enough, the air conditioning compressors simply can't function properly. So therefore, it's not going to cool right. The issue, though, that we want to focus on today is more this issue of nicotine oil, road grime, dust, dirt, debris, junk building up around the evaporator core and putting a barrier between the coils of the evaporator core and the air that passes through it. Maybe I could graphically show it this way with my fingers. If this is my evaporator core, I have cold inside these coils. Now back here is my blower box. Does that make sense? So this is my blower box, and I'm blowing air through these coils. What I want to do is get maximum air in contact with maximum surface on the coils so that I get cold air out this side. And it works great, except for one thing. If I get a thin layer of oil or debris or dust or grime or fuzz or mold or fungus, it sets up a barrier between the cold and the air. You tracking with me on that, Chris? So now it's not that it's not cold over here. It is probably some cold, but it's not as cold as it could be. And again, the major issue here is my AC is not cold enough. The cool thing about this service is in fact, if I were to say to you, most air conditioning systems over mileage and time lose some efficiency because of this dirty evaporator core, Would that make sense? And would you say that many times it happens slow enough that people don't even notice it? You know, it's not cooling like it did, but it happened so gradual I didn't notice it. If you rapidly gave them that coldness back, whoa, what did you do to what will that do to CSI?
Improve it quite a bit.
Absolutely. So we don't just deal with the lubricant side of your air conditioning compressor. We don't just deal with the cabin air filter. We deal with the root cause of the smell, and that is debris and mold and fungus in the evaporator core, and we're dealing more with the root cause of why it's not getting cold enough. And again, that's that barrier built up in there. So you see how this is a win-win-win, and it's something the customer can notice the difference. Now, let me contrast this with something else just for a second. When you do a radiator service, when you do a cooling system service, it's the right thing to do, but is a customer going to notice the difference when you change his antifreeze? He won't. He won't notice. When you change oil, is he going to notice any difference? He won't. Now, it's the right thing to do. You need to do it. This is the service, when you do it, he's going to go, wow, what'd you do to my car? I love it, because it makes so much difference. After we do the evaporator core cleaning, we want to come back and make sure that we've killed all of the mold and fungus that's in there. And that's where we use Frigi. This is an EPA-approved product to kill all of that mold and fungus so it doesn't keep coming back. A lot of folks have allergies, right? A lot of kids have allergies. A lot of adults have allergies. You know, a lot of people are taking over-the-counter and a lot of people are taking prescription. Could it be that those allergies are caused by their AC system? Could it be those little runny noses are caused by the AC system? And that's what this is about. Before I go any further, let me just mention one thing related to what's called the REM process, related, immediate, and maintenance. This is the mother of all related services. You do cabin air filters already. Everybody understands they need to do a cabin air filter, or at least when you explain it to them, they get it. What we know behind the scenes is cabin air filters are good for leaves and sticks and bugs and dust, but it doesn't address the core foul smell, and that's the mold and the fungus. So whenever you do whenever you do a cabin air filter, we always want Frigi to go as part of that cabin air filter. Chris, it's not an upsell. It's just every one you do, it's part of it. You know, it's not like you sell them a cabin air filter and then you say, do you want us to install that for you? You've never said that, right? A cabin air filter, by definition, is the part and the labor to install it. So we're not going to ask them, do they want Frigi with that? It's the cabin air filter, the Frigi and the labor to get it done. So that is a related service married to an item that you sell real often. Then what you can do is upgrade them to this. Let's go to the next picture here. To upgrade them to the complete service, which deals with handling the extreme temps, taking care of contaminants and moisture, in other words, contaminants in that evaporator blower box there. Noisy compressor can be an issue as well, and that's where a product called Frigi Quiet comes in, which is a refrigeration oil, and then we have mold and fungus. So the service is going to look like this right here. The service looks like this. In the middle there, that is the evaporator core before we did the service. After is the evaporator core after we did the service. As I mentioned before, we washed everything down. We washed it down through the condensation tube down into the pan. That's how it looks before and after. Now, I jumped over something just a little bit too fast, and I want to back up for a minute. I got a picture of a realtor on here because I want to remind you guys of something. We're not in the automotive business. You say, wait a minute. Yes, we are. No, we're not in the automotive business. Gentlemen, we're in the people business. And so you take this realtor lady here. If it's 100 degrees outside, she puts somebody into that Lincoln Town car or into that large pickup she's got, maybe a 4-seater pickup, 110 degrees, and if she gets it down to 90 degrees, she's hot, they're hot, it's just not a good experience, and people don't have as good a home buying experience, and she might lose a sale. But if she gets them in that car and it's 60 degrees, you know, in that four-seater F-150 that she has, she gets it down to 60 degrees, suddenly everybody's happier. Just think about this. The more climate control services you do, the more the realtor is going to close the sale. Y'all see what I'm talking about? It is helping folks live their lives. You know, somebody with children, putting children in a hot car, you know, is not a good thing. We want to get that cool. So you're helping folks live their lives better by doing this service. Now, I did mention this before and after. I got to show you just something here. This is on one I did recently, and I want you to look at. That is what came out of the condensation tube. And you see that junk floating around in there? This is an AC system that was working well, cooling, quote unquote, adequately, but that junk was in there. Now, I'll tell you, Chris, what we're going to do. If you'll let us, we're going to do this evaporator cleaning service on your car personally, and it's going to be done at my expense. We're going to do this for free for you. And I want to catch what comes out of your vehicle. And we'll put it in a little jar, and we'll set that up by your little podium that you have out there on the service drive, so that you can say to the customer, I got to tell you, this is what was in mine. And I think, Miss Jones, you may find this in your cooling system as well. Could we go ahead and do that service for you today? Does that make sense? Another reason to have this, Bob, is, you know, this is the first time you're hearing about this service. We've not talked about this before. Everybody loves a true story. So you say something along the lines of, you know, I just went to an air conditioning class and they brought something to my attention that I wasn't even aware of. I had it done on my car, and wow, that's what I found. That's what I've been breathing for several years, and now I'm not breathing that anymore. Mr. Jones, you wouldn't want to breathe that stuff, would you? Let's do this on your car too. Y'all see how that works by telling a story? So now let's look at how we're doing. You see how down here we have liquid, and you see how we're beginning to wash this off. If I put this behind, do you see how up at the top it's clean as a whistle? And we're slowly, as this foam is turning into a liquid, it's carrying the automatic transmission fluid down with it. That's what I'm talking about. Gentlemen, if Frigi Clean and Frigi Fresh will do what you've seen them do, I think you can see, Bob, that's a must for every cabin air filter service you do, isn't it? Okay, so in unpacking this demo, it's really difficult to do it wrong. You'll want to clean the jar with brake cleaner to start with, just so you're perfectly clean. You don't need to use very much automatic transmission fluid, less than a tablespoonful, actually less than a teaspoonful. You just need a little bit to coat it. And you probably noticed it's not too evident that you have the transmission fluid in there until you foam it up, and then it becomes very evident. You simply shake the can. The more you shake the can, the more foam you'll get and the less liquid. You'll notice when I did the demo, I did not shake the can at all, and so therefore I ended up with liquid at the bottom. It doesn't matter whichever way you want to do it. What I'm looking for here is I have a liquid layer, I have a foam layer, but most importantly, I have this clean layer. What I did to set this up, I take the lid and drill a hole in it, just like you would in an evaporator core for that particular attachment, and just simply foam it up that way.